Hello and welcome to Smart Puppy Starts. I am your host, Connie Watson. I am the owner and trainer of Rocky Top Hearts, Australian Shepherds. Today's first podcast ever is just a quick video on some of the items that I feel that you should have on hand when you bring your new puppy home. Now, the main thing that I recommend above anything else is to have a collar and leash and to have it ready and typically bring it with you when you pick your new puppy up. I like leather, that's my favorite. However, they do make some good nylon leashes that would go color coordinate with a collar, but they also make some leather collars. Make sure it has a good sturdy snap to attach to your collar. I like the flat buckle collars. They do make a click collar, but I do like the buckle collar. This particular collar is actually an adjustable collar and still has the buckle. So you have your D-ring. Make sure there is a D-ring to snap your collar to. Leather does tend to, if you let it get wet, it can get stiff and dirty, so you do have to take good care of leather. So maybe, for first-time puppy owners, a nylon leash, good nylon leash and collar is a good idea. And for those of you that are getting the Australian Shepherd puppies, I recommend 8 to 12 inches in a no more than a 5/8 inch, because you get bigger than a 5/8 inch and you're going to get into your bigger sizes. You will have to switch to a bigger collar as the dog gets older. The collar and leash, you want to make sure you have a food and water dish. I highly recommend stainless steel. I'll put some links down in the description, to some that I like to use myself. This one here is particular brand is a Snappy Cup or Snappy Clip, I guess. And it actually goes into a containment holder. I don't recommend to feed the dog in the crate, so you don't necessarily need one of those. A non-skid bottom is also good, but in another video I'm going to talk about not actually feeding your puppy out of a bowl, or at least not feeding his full amount out of the bowl, and I'll go over that as to why. But stainless steel bowls, back to that, are very easy to disinfect. Plastic can tend to pick up bacteria and hold bacteria. So stainless steel is my choice for that. And it's for, just make sure that you know what the puppy is being fed, so that you can have a bag of food already at home on hand. And make sure it is the same brand, same type as to what your breeder has been feeding. As for toys, I recommend the Kong. That's my favorite, is Kong toys of just about any kind. I do like Nylabone for puppies. Maybe not quite so much for the adult dogs, but for puppies, if you have to leave them alone in their pen, this is a nice little, it's supposed to be bacon flavor. I've never tried it, so I couldn't tell you. This one is a meaty flavor melody. This is for a stronger chewer. If for the Australian Shepherd puppies, I don't think that you quite need the hearty chewer. You could just go with the puppy pack, the Nylabone for the puppy pack, and I will be putting links down in the description for these things that I use. But I do recommend the Kong, and I will go do a separate video on how to put the food, or how to stuff the Kong and teach the puppy to work for his meal, if you will. Here's another food training. It's just a puzzle. They call, this is the Busy Buddy. They call it a food puzzle. You would put his food or some treats inside this containment area here, and then of course you would close it, and then the puppy or dog has to figure out that, oh, the rope goes in and out and actually dispenses food out to the end here. This one doesn't. You wouldn't be able to put very thick food in here, so. But this is one. Busy Buddy also makes an egg shape, and that is the one that I usually like to use. And then for a toy to leave in the crate, these milker inflations are wonderful. They are nice and hearty for the dogs to chew on. And but I would still supervise with these. Toys that you can play with your puppy. You don't necessarily have to have these on hand, but they are nice to have. This one, a very good friend of mine makes these. We use these to train our agility dogs. This is one of Echo's favorites. And it has a bungee strap to it. And this is so when the puppy is pulling on it or dog is pulling on it and you have your hand in the handle, it's not putting a whole lot of pressure on his neck or back. But never leave these with the puppy unattended, because it's a lot easier to prevent bad behavior than it is to try to correct it later on down the line once they've learned it. Another item to have on hand is a brush and a comb. This is called a slicker brush. This is what I use. This is what you would use on a combination coat such as the Australian Shepherd. It will help to remove a lot of the dead and unwanted hair. The comb will as well. And if you have a smoother coat breed, I mean, if it's not one of my customers, I'm watching this video of a smooth coat breed, just a plain dog brush would work rather than a slicker or even a comb. But these are the two items that I recommend. These are made by Andis. There are many different brands, makers out there. Just make sure you try to get something with a good German steel, because it is a harder steel and the teeth won't break, bend, and fall out on you. One of the other treats that I like to put once the puppy gets a little bigger, 4 or 5 months old, is the Busy Bone. It is an edible, long-lasting, and it does keep them busy. This one's filled, has a little bit of some kind of a liver treat in it. But that's something that you can leave in the kennel with the puppy when you're not able to supervise. These are just some training treats. If you want to pick up some training treats, if you're, I recommend you to use their food for training. However, if you do want to do a little extra training and you do want to use some treats, Cloudstar makes a good one, Tricky Trainer, but there are hundreds on the market. My favorite is the Zooks Minis. They do make a rabbit flavor. They make other flavors, but the rabbit seems to be the one that most of my puppies actually enjoy. And they are a tiny treat like this, very tiny, and you can even break these in half to give to them. This thing here I'm holding is actually a cow hoof. It's the hard outer shell of the cow toe, if you will. These do make wonderful long-lasting chew treats for the adult dog and the older puppy. However, they do have an odor to them. Once the dogs go to chewing on them, they do have an odor to them. So if you're sensitive to farm smells, I probably would not go for the chew hoof, but dogs do go crazy for those. And another one of my favorites, if you're going to use treats, is the freeze-dried beef liver. Chicken livers even, but the beef liver, the dogs just absolutely love these. And Stewart's is a wonderful brand. This is the brand I use. I'm sure there are others, but this is the brand I use. And it's just dried beef livers. You can see in the bowl there. Many different size pieces. There'll be big chunks, all the way down to just little slivers, which is what the little slivers are perfect for a quick reward for your puppy. If he's went out to potty and he's done his business and you did a good job, just give him a little piece of that. And you can break the bigger pieces down. There's no problem with that. Another thing that I highly recommend that you have on hand is the crate and the X-Pen. If you used correctly, if you used a crate and an X-Pen, again, it is much easier to prevent bad behavior than to correct it later. But used correctly, the crate and the X-Pen make a good house training tool if you don't use them as punishment. And I will have a separate video specifically on crate training and using the X-Pen. Oh, I wanted to show, this is just a little soft toy that people tend to want to use the soft toys and the soft comfy beds in the crates. When you first bring your puppy home, you can use these to play with them, but do not leave them in the crate, because if they go to try to tear that squeaker out and then they start tearing the toy up, they'll always tear things up. And so again, it's easier to prevent than to correct later. And the same with the bed. Don't give them a bed at first. I mean, it might sound cruel, but if they tear that up or soil on it, they feel like that it can always, it's okay to do it all the time. And it does not hurt them if you have them in a nice warm or nice, comfortable place in your home. You're not going to be leaving them in there forever. They'll be in there at night, for 5 to 7 hours, but they will not be in there forever. As far as the X pen is concerned, for the Australian Shepherd, and with the crate, please make sure that you get the correct size for your puppy. I would recommend getting the size that your dog will need when they're full grown. And I will put a link in the description, but this particular crate comes with a divider. This divider actually you put it inside the crate and it hooks to the wall, and so that you can cut down the size of space that your puppy has in this crate, and you can give him more room as he has earned it for not pottying in the crate. So that is a very good idea as well. But on your X pen, please make sure that you get the height you need to begin with. Don't start small and then get bigger, because if the puppy learns to climb out of that crate, he will always climb out of that crate. So just make sure that you get at least a 38-inch or taller to begin with. That way you don't have, again, it is easier to prevent bad behavior than it is to try to correct it after the fact. So these are just some of the things, like I mentioned, that I like to see people have on hand for training purposes, and even for a place to be. Dogs like to be up high or up off the floor. This is a Kuranda bed, Kuranda, Kuranda, and I will put a link to these as well. I use these things like crazy. I've had them for years. This particular one, they do make them now with aluminum. This is one of my original ones, so it is a little bit dirty, so I don't want to kind of be flashing it around too much, but it has a canvas bed on it, and they do now make a mesh style bed as well. I have been purchasing the mesh style beds for the adult dogs, but for the puppies, I use the canvas bed, and you can even purchase a fleece top cover to hook on to have on this bed. These are chew proof. They are guaranteed. So if you get one, they are guaranteed. So keep that in mind. It makes wonderful training tool as well. I do use the Canine Blue products. I like to use their base, but these, if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, on agility training products or top quality training products, this is a multi-use tool, a bed and a training platform. So keep those in mind. And again, I'll put a link in the description. Oops, it fell over. Sorry. I think that's just about it. Oh, I wanted to go over the new vet supplement. This is an all-natural vitamin, mineral, and herb supplement. Every puppy that leaves my place has been started on the new Vet Plus at 6 weeks of age. I highly recommend it. I don't force people to use it, but I highly recommend it. It is a wonderful product. This is actually the powdered form. It is a lot easier for me to dispense to the puppies, a litter of puppies in the powder form versus trying to give each puppy a tablet. But I do send home tablets as samples with the puppies. But again, I will put a link to their product information, and you can go and look their information over. Wonderful product. It is also 100% money back guaranteed, the new Vet Plus. But anyway, if I've missed anything, let me know. But I think I've went over, these are just the bare minimum things. You don't have to have these exact products, but it is nice to have these items. You're going to need a food bowl and a water dish, okay? And stainless steel is your way to go. You're going to need a few chew toys. You're going to need a collar and a leash. As far as the collar and leash is concerned, I am not a harness or a head halter person. It's not to say that you can't use those. If that is your preferred method, by all means, go for it. But when you start going to a training class, they will recommend the collar, flat buckle collar and leash. Okay, the harness is just maybe when in the once the puppy is trained, if you want to go to a harness, that's perfectly fine. But for your puppy, you want that collar and leash, and you want to train correctly with that collar and leash. I will post another video on how to properly train your puppy to the leash if need be, because that's, like I said, that's what I recommend. And this is actually a clicker. I don't know that I had went over this in the video. I do use these. I'm not always, but it is a nice handy tool. I'll bring it close to try not to blow out your, if you hear that, it's just a click. And that is a marking tool. I usually just use the word yes, yes, that they've done a good job the moment that they do it. But sometimes people aren't that quick. And so if you can you learn to, the moment the puppy does something that you're just like, yay, that moment, that very moment, you want to make that click. And I can recommend videos on clicker training. I think you can get that anywhere. You could probably go online and find hundreds of them. But I will be creating a video for just about everything here that I recommend. I will be doing a separate video on how to use these products. So that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope I haven't bored you. Again, my name is Connie Watson. I'm the owner and trainer at Rocky Top Hearts, Australian Shepherds. And this has been the very first podcast installment of Smart Puppy Starts. Thank you for watching.